Hey guys, today we're going to be jumping into the August 2024 top 10 units list for Dragon Ball Legends. There definitely will be another one of these videos this month because we just got the announcement for Legends Limited Super Saiyan Broly, who transforms into Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. So I imagine he will probably definitely make at least top 10. He seems to be very strong. I'm a little late to do this. I've just had a lot of traveling going on, busy schedules. Dokkan has been popping off. Like, we got a lot of catching up to do. This is a bit later than I usually like to put these lists out. But I have had some good time to test out Omega and see how his effect on the meta has shaped the landscape of the game. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this list here. As usual, we will cover the prerequisite points here so you guys can keep these in mind as we go through the list. Every character is considered at 14 stars, best teams, best equips, max title boosts, all that good stuff. Number two, every placement on this top 10 ranking is the current placements of the characters in the existing meta, not who is better than who. And then number three, this list, of course, consists of rankings that are entirely based on my own opinion. I will also probably say this as well. This video, I did have a lot of experience using Omega, not only in the Japan meta, but also in the US meta because of traveling. So this list might have some differentiations between I think the last list I did, I think also was US influenced as well. But yeah, they're both going to have influence there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the list itself. And we'll start with number 10, which actually is going to be a shared spot. Alrighty, so number 10, I'm actually going to have shared between two characters. This is not going to be 10/9. I'm just going to straight up just call this number 10. I have 9 other characters on this list that I definitely think are, I would rank above these guys right now. So UI Goku, I think UI Goku definitely has lost a bit of his effectiveness just in terms of the lock not being as detrimental to the opponent as it usually has been. We have a lot of different tools to deal with this now. We have, of course, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's Gauge. We have Omega Shenron's Indestructible. We have a lot of disrupts on just meta characters. The two fusing Gogeta and Vegito characters have disrupts at half health. So I think it's a little bit more tough to get tons of value out of the lock-in with this UI Goku. The upcoming Broly is actually going to have a very similar mechanic, so we'll see how that does. But I think UI Goku is still a very effective character defensively with his dodging gauge. He has the subcount manipulation, generates the green cards. Definitely still hits pretty hard, just naturally during like typical combos. So I don't really think this UI Goku has like all of a sudden just fallen off a cliff or something like that. It's just they are specifically designing characters around this character just being able to enter the battlefield and snipe them out with like there being no counterplay. Every character coming out these days has some way to deal with UI Goku. I could definitely see this character dropping off the top 10 potentially when Broly drops, considering that Broly's a red character, but we will see. For Frieza, Frieza is just cursed by being not on a lot of teams. I actually think the opposite is true for Frieza. I think Broly could actually really help Frieza. They're both movie characters. You can sort of make a good movie core team with those two. Purple and red have always been two colors that work pretty well with each other. But as it stands right now, Frieza's comeback mechanic is obviously still very valuable. I don't really see that mechanic ever aging, like ever. It's going to be almost a timeless mechanic unless they eventually come out with some way to either directly counter it. Like if there's a character that like when triggers comeback, you like, you know, just kill the opponent or something. I don't know. But comeback's still very effective. It's just he's plagued by not having great team options right now. You can definitely run him on a powerful opponent with like Fusion Zamasu could be okay. Super Baby 2 could work. But definitely not in as good of a spot as he was when he first released, and that's not really his fault. It's more so just the teams around him aren't as good. And also I think there's a lot of really good yellow characters that exist right now, which could be a problem. So this is going to be a shared number 10 spot between Ultra UI Goku and Ultra Golden Frieza. Let's move on to number 9 next. Coming in at number 9, we have the 1% sparking green Evil Boo. I think this character is very for a 1% sparking character, we typically don't see characters this good. So I think it was very, very nice of them to drop this guy, especially because they were very obviously pushing the Majin Buu Saga team throughout the anniversary. And they have not really had a lot of success in pushing Saga teams up until this point. You know, we've seen a lot of attempts to make certain Saga teams during episode campaigns work, and they've always sort of fell flat because of the fact that the benches never are that cohesive. And I would actually argue that's one of the weaknesses of the Majin Buu Saga team, even right now, is it's very tough to get like a super cohesive bench working for them. I think it's a bit different right now because we have the Zenkai Blue Kid Buu, and you could run this guy and you could sort of make like a regen core bench, and that could sort of work to your advantage as well. But in terms of Evil Buu's individual presence on the team, I think he is probably one of the main pieces of glue that holds the team together. His intangible buffs that he's giving to the team, he's providing to the team in the form of disrupt. He's increasing cost every time the opponent uses a card. He has key reduction. He has card draw speed down. He has a disrupt at half health. He's removing enemy buff effects when they use ultimates or rising rushes. This guy is very, very tough to kill, even for characters like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, even for characters like Ultimate Gohan, who are purple, obviously. This guy could definitely be an issue. He goes type neutral. He's destroying Dragon Balls on his ultimate. He's doing AoE damage. He has the lock-in when you have a full Buu Saga team. There are a lot of things this character is doing that you can point to like some of the other best characters in the game and they just won't be able to do those things. So that is what makes this character valuable in my opinion. And then on top of that as well, he also has a blast cover change, which I think is a pretty underrated thing right now, especially when you're running him on a team with a character that has a strike cover change. So you have both available and it sort of keeps your opponent on their toes as to what they want to go with. So I have very positive experiences using Evil Buu. I think whenever I fight against an opponent, Evil Buu, I always sort of feel like, oh great, I gotta fight this guy now. And that is also contributed to my ranking of him at number 9 on the list. I don't think I had Evil Buu on the prior few lists, but that's because I think I've seen a lot more Majin Buu Saga teams being used recently. And I think actually indirectly LF Omega Shenron's release has sort of helped the Majin Buu Saga team a bit, because it's allowed Kid Buu to become a lot more, not a lot more usable, but it's increased Kid Buu's value a lot, which helps the team overall. So Green Evil Buu is a very good 1% sparking, number 9 on the list. We're going to jump into number 8 now, which again, I also have 7 and 8 as a shared spot. So number 7 and 8 on this list is going to be a shared spot between Fusion Zamasu and Kid Buu. These are both Zenkai characters that released during the 6th anniversary. The 6th anniversary did a really good job at giving us very powerful LF Zenkai characters. I think they probably could have given Broly a little bit more, but I think they were kind of scared because Broly is a bit of a differently designed character. He's more so of a character that is going to just domino effect off of himself. He's a very snowbally character. And Broly probably has a higher ceiling than almost any character on this entire list. While I think these two LF Zenkai characters are probably just going to be more consistent in the results that you're going to get when using them. Fusion Zamasu, I'm assuming you guys have definitely fought Fusion Zamasu more than Kid Buu at this point. I mean, again, everyone's experience is going to be different, but I think I see Fusion Zamasu more. Very strong character. He's essentially like the only very good red that exists right now. Again, we're about to get Broly, so he's going to join Fusion Zamasu in the ranks of elite red characters, but Fusion Zamasu is very good. I think Omega Shenron has hurt him a little bit, just because Zamasu obviously cannot really deal with Indestructible prior to Omega coming out. And I'll talk about Omega more later as we get up to close to the top of the list here. Omega being able to be used on the Fusion Warrior team, and especially in combination with the fact that he's surrounded by characters that reduce ally subcount when they get Rising Rush and ultimated. It really reduces the effectiveness that Zamasu has in the ability to just main ability and Rising Rush and essentially just guaranteed kill anybody with his endurance nullification. So that in combination with the fact that I just think Zamasu at this point probably doesn't really have a great matchup against the Fusion Warrior team, because you're also always going to be using Super Vegito on that team as well. Has brought his value down a little bit, but he's still a very strong character. For Kid Buu, again, I talked about this a little bit in the prior section with Evil Buu, but I've definitely seen a massive uptick in the amount of Majin Buu Saga teams that I've encountered recently. And I think with the release of LF Omega Shenron, people are going to be more incentivized to run Kid Buu over Super Vegito on the Buu Saga team, as crazy as that sounds. So there's two benefits to that. I think personally, I think Super Vegito is a better character still and a better option than this Kid Buu. Kid Buu is going to probably perform better directly against Omega Shenron. Vegito, of course, is going to be very apprehensive to Rising Rush with Omega existing on the opponent's team, which is a lot of the value you're getting from using Vegito. Kid Buu has the ability to go type neutral when he vanishes. Kid Buu also is going to play a bit of a better role as a cohesive addition to the team because, again, like I mentioned in the prior section, you can run Kid Buu and Evil Buu together and sort of build the team around a regen bench, and then you just throw Ultimate Gohan in the leader slot, and that's your Buu Saga team. It's Kid Buu, Evil Buu, and Ultimate Gohan leader slot. I've actually seen a lot of people running that variant of the Buu Saga team over a variant of the Buu Saga team that includes Super Vegito. So I think Kid Buu has definitely gained a lot of value in that department. Kid Buu also has the ability to just seemingly almost infinitely combo. One downside to Kid Buu is the very short window of cover nullification that he has. I think it's only 3 counts when he uses a blast card for the first time. So it sort of allows him to at least get going. But in terms of his staying power with cover null, it's very tough to string together like mega long combos if the opponent has like a double cover change character like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and also enemy Evil Boos can be a problem for him. So, but overall, very strong character. Kid Buu, the thing with him too is if you go for a tackle and then a blast, or not tackle, a quick attack and a blast card, which is the way a lot of people tend to start combos these days. Kid Buu's Vanish Restoration is so fast that a lot of times when you go for that and Kid Buu vanishes the blast attack and you go for taps after that, Kid Buu's Vanish will already be back. So it's very tough to initiate against him, and the fact that he has endurance as well, I think, allows you to be a bit more lenient and liberal with how you be proactive with him and go on the offensive. So 2 very good Zenkai characters from the 6th anniversary, Kid Buu and Fusion Zamasu. Let's move on to number 6. Coming in at number 6 on the list is going to be LF Super Baby 2, and we can definitely say this is a character at this point that has certainly aged very well. He came out in March, it is now August, and he's still hanging out around these like sort of very top tier options on the list here, kind of close. He's like in the middle of the list, but middle of top 10 is very, very strong. This guy definitely was helped, I think, with the release of Omega Shenron. They pair up very well. I think it's very obvious to me that Omega was released in order to pair up very well with the GT villain characters. So this character and also Super 17. Super 17 is not on this list, but Super 17 I think does actually get helped a decent bit by Omega. The main thing that makes them really good with each other is, remember, Super Baby 2 reduces ally subcount by 5 when they use ultimates or rising rushes, and Omega on standby reduces his own subcount by 5 when the enemy does those things. So you actually do have a combined minus 10 subcount to a character that has indestructible when you pair up this character alongside Omega. So they do work very, very well with each other. Also, color-wise, I think yellow is a very strong color right now. We'll see what happens once Broly releases. Obviously, with him being red, it could be an issue for this guy. I think you probably will not want to get touched by a blue card from Red Broly when he drops with this character, but I do think Super Baby 2 is still a very effective character. It's very tough to initiate against him because of the fact that his green card. I mean, if you get caught by this guy's counter green card, you're in big trouble because he's drawing cards, he's getting cover null, he's going type neutral. It's very hard to deal with that still. I think against enemy Omega Shenrons, he can be a solid option as well. Obviously, this is a character that, even though he is yellow, can still get one-shot by Gogeta. That's something that I think we could just say about every character in this list, though. Like, there's not, like, really one character on this list that doesn't get one-shot by Gogeta, besides, like, Omega and Ultimate Gohan, potentially. And I guess Golden Frieza, too. But, yeah, not many characters can really survive ultimates from him. So I'm not really going to hold that too much against Super Baby 2, but he's a really good character. Of course, you guys know how his gauge works. You guys know how the lock-in ultimate works when the gauge is filled up. I don't have to really go through all the specifics here, but I just feel like this guy's aged very, very well, and I do think he makes core GT. Pairs up well with Omega, and he works well together with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta as well. So number 6 is going to be Super Baby 2. Let's move on to number 5. All right, so number 5 is going to be Fusing Gogeta Blue. This character is still, I think, in a very good spot meta-wise, but it's a bit strange because I actually don't think they make core Fusion Warrior. With the release of Omega Shenron, the one thing that the Fusion Warrior team really was lacking was Rising Rush defense. Some sort of endurance character, revival character, comeback, indestructible, and of course Omega being added to the Fusion Warrior team because they actually... I'm still not sure how I feel about the fact that he's on the Fusion Warrior tag, but he's on the Fusion Warrior tag. He has indestructible, and I think he does pair up pretty well with what the Fusion Warrior team wants to do. I think, in my opinion, the core Fusion Warrior team at this point is Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Vegito, and Omega. And I unfortunately don't think Gogeta Blue is going to make the cut onto there. You could certainly opt to go with Gogeta Blue over Super Vegito on that team. I think that definitely could work as well, but I just think at this point, most people would agree that Super Vegito is the superior character to this guy. But again, I'm not going to really go too hard on this guy because they do still work very well in this. Like, you're not going to see a supremely vast difference in results if you decide to go with like this character over Vegito on Fusion Warriors or this character over Omega on Fusion Warriors. I just think Omega brings more to the table that the team needed than this character. And that's why I had to bump them down a little bit on the list, even though I do still think they're a very effective character right now. They're still going to work really well in like movies. They're still going to work really well on just like all-purpose Saiyan teams, God Key teams. Overall, very good character. Again, we'll see what happens when Broly drops. I think it's going to be a bit tougher for this character to stick it out just because of Broly's anti-cover change mechanic. But overall, I definitely do think this character is looking to age pretty well so far. Just again, I don't think they make the cut for optimal, quote-unquote, optimal core Fusion Warriors, which is why I had to drop them a little bit down on the list here, but still a very strong character. Fusing Gogeta Blue. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is going to be LF Omega Shenron, the newest LF character to join the game. I definitely really do think they designed this guy very well. I'm not a huge fan of like RNG mechanics like paralysis and feint, so I'm not really a huge fan of the feint aspect of this guy, but pretty much everything else I do really like. I guess the only other criticism I have for this character is the blue card being a projectile. You can definitely make some plays out of the fact that it's a projectile, but I would have preferred if it was just a normal, like, ranged blue card. But this guy is very, very strong. His gauge, the fact that you gain a Dragon Ball at the beginning of the fight, I've seen so many instances. You realize how much of a buff that is to Vegito, to fusing Vegito? Fusing Vegito, starting the match out with 1 extra Dragon Ball, I've seen people get rushes in 12 counts using the combination of this guy plus fusing Super Vegito. And that basically almost leads to a guaranteed kill unless the opponent is also using Omega. So I think Omega, like I mentioned in the previous section discussing the fusing Gogeta Blue character, I think this guy actually ends up replacing fusing Gogeta Blue on optimal core Fusion Warriors. And the main reason is because he brings a lot to the table that, you know, Gogeta doesn't bring to the table. Gogeta, a lot of times, is just damage and the ability to penetrate through Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's gauge. I mean, to be fair, Gogeta Blue also does have a very good typing right now. Again, we'll see when Broly drops, but for right now, it's very good. Omega does bring a bit of more, I guess, utility to the table in the form of Rising Rush defense with indestructible, survivability. I think Omega has a better two-way game than Gogeta does, right? And what I mean by that is he's pretty good offensively, but he's also really, really solid defensively. You can sort of decide how you want to use his gauge. Remember, when you have his full gauge active and you switch into him and start eating combos with him, he's going to heal and he's going to reduce the enemy ki and he's going to be disrupting. Like, this guy is a pretty good, pretty well-rounded unit. And you can go for the feint on the blue card, which I've definitely won many games off of getting feints on the blue cards. A lot of people aren't fans of that mechanic. I personally am not really a huge fan of that mechanic, but if it works, it works, and it adds to the strength of the character overall. I think he works really well in tandem with characters like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Super Baby 2. In fact, that's my go-to GT team. That's the team I'm probably going to use this season to go for God rank, is GT team featuring this character, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Super Baby 2, because they all work super well with each other. The sub-count manipulation essentially means that Omega will always be able to swap in when the enemy goes for a Rising Rush. His Indestructible will activate. He'll gain another Dragon Ball. He'll get extra damage buffs. And remember, his ultimate is buffing Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's ultimate, because when he pops his ultimate, he's giving ultimate damage and blue card damage to the whole team. So imagine buffing Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's ultimate. It's pretty crazy. And then on top of that, this guy isn't like completely dead in the water versus Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta either, because he does every single time when he swaps in get type neutral for the first few counts, and that's offensively as well as defensively. So you can actually come in, pop your main ability, and just straight up kill Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta with this guy's ultimate potentially. So I think this guy's overall a very well-rounded character. I don't really have many issues with him overall, and I think he fits very well on core Fusion Warriors, core GT. Powerful opponent he worked really well on. You could throw him on like a regen setup with Kid Buu and maybe Super Baby 2 as well over there. So just a really good addition to the game. He helps a lot of different teams, and I feel very comfortable with this guy being number 4 on the list. So with that said, let's move up to the top 3, and we'll start with, of course, number 3. All right, so for the top 3 characters, I'm not going to spend too much time going over each of them because at this point we've all faced them numerous times. Number 3 is going to be Fusing Super Vegito, who I think probably got hurt a little bit due to Omega Shenron releasing. They do work together really well, so it was kind of tough for me to really move this character like way down on the list because of Omega releasing. But I do think they probably get impacted a little bit more negatively than positively, although again, they work really well with each other, so it's really hard to say one way or the other. But of course, you guys know how well this character works on Fusion Warriors. They work really well on Buu Saga. Again, I think specifically for Buu Saga, probably prefer, honestly, the Kid Buu variant over this character on Buu Saga, but, I mean, this character's going to work well on pretty much any team you put them on anyway. Sub-count manipulation defensively, they have the full card destruction ability at half health. I mean, this character has a lot. Fuse Super Vegito, when you get into him and you pop his main ability, get the special, sustained damage cut penetration effect active. This character is hitting so hard. This character, I've seen one-shot full health Super Saiyan 4 Gogetas with Fuse Super Vegito's blue card, like raw. It is very crazy how much damage this character does. They have a very annoying mechanic in the form of blue card and ultimate card locks, which actually I think does work pretty well against opponent Omega Shenrons who want to come in and just like quickly snipe this character out. Remember, Omega has a sub-count up effect on his green card, which you can sometimes use to snipe characters with. Doesn't really work on this guy because they have sub-count manipulation when the enemy uses ultimates and stuff like that, but overall this character I think is very positioned well. Like I mentioned in the Omega section, Omega obtaining a Dragon Ball at the beginning of the fight just for being on the team really does help this character a lot. Gets them closer to getting the full Dragon Balls they need to get the fusion off earlier, and then of course they get the guaranteed Rising Rush with that. So I don't really think there's anything much else I need to say about this character. You guys have fought them hundreds of times. I've fought them thousands of times. I've used them a lot. I've fought against them a lot. They deserve to be at number 3 on this list. Let's move on to number 2. All right, number 2 is going to be LF Ultimate Gohan. Not going to go into excruciating detail here because you guys all know how this guy works. I'm actually really not a huge fan of this character. I really don't enjoy fighting against him. This is a character where you can sort of just, spam blues and greens from full screen, and you can probably win a lot of fights that way. This is certainly Omega Shenron's biggest obstacle, I think. Omega can come in, he can go type neutral for a few counts, but this guy is debuffing, healing, and removing enemy buffs when you go for an ultimate against him or a blue card against him, so it's tough for Omega to really finish him off or even do significant damage against him. He has a cover change against strikes, which works really well in tandem with like Evil Buu, who has a cover change against blasts. So you have both cover changes, so you really don't know which one to go with a lot of the time. This guy works really well on the Buu Saga team, which once again I'll mention I've seen a lot of more people using the Buu Saga team recently. This guy with Kid Buu and Evil Buu, or you can throw on Super Vegito as well, and they all work pretty well together. It was very obvious from the beginning of the 6th anniversary that they were really trying to make the Buu Saga team work. Even like the free-to-play 18 is a pretty good option for that Buu Saga team, just increasing the amount of Dragon Balls you get, the support that she's giving. But I could definitely see Ultimate Gohan definitely aging very well moving forward. He's designed similarly to Blue 17, although I think probably Blue 17 will have, at the end of the day, have aged better than this character when, in the respective eras when they released. Just because I think Blue 17 with the double vanish was crazy for the time he released, plus also the support he was giving. But yeah, and then I guess we can talk about lastly just the craziness that is his main ability into the ultimate. When Super Saiyan 3 Dragon Fist, who actually is getting getting a Zenkai, I believe his Zenkai will probably release on the 21st, that Dragon Fist. But when that Dragon Fist first dropped during the 4th anniversary, you really had to, from second one of the fight, make it your mission. You were on a quest to get his full unique gauge active and to set up the ultimate, the one-shot ultimate. Gohan literally just presses his main ability and he has the same effect. Dragon Fist, spending the entire match investing time into comboing with him to get the unique gauge filled up. You had to make sure you were in the right spot. You had to make sure you weren't fighting against somebody who could survive it, like a potentially like a strong purple character or something like that. This guy literally just, you press the main ability, you press the ultimate, and there's not really much the opponent can do if you're in like a decent spot with Gohan on the battlefield at that point. So, Ultimate Gohan, I think, is in a really good spot right now, even though there are definitely a lot of good yellow characters that exist. It's just crazy. It goes to show how crazy they made this guy. Fusing Gogeta Blue definitely can be a problem for this guy, for sure. I think he's probably the biggest weakness that this Gohan can encounter. But on the flip side of that as well, Gohan can simply just one-shot him with the with the main ultimate. So I feel comfortable with having Gohan at number 2. I think a lot of people have noticed and understood how good this guy is at this point. So we'll move on to number 1, and I think it's pretty obvious who that is going to be. Okay, surprise, surprise. Number 1 is Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, just an absolute animal of a character. Hardest hitting ultimate in the game, has the most potent disrupt in the game. I mean, he just does everything. I mean, the only thing he's really not doing is like supporting, I guess. Works really well in tandem. Well, I guess I could say works really well both in tandem with Omega and also against enemy Omega Shenrons. Do you guys really need me to talk about this guy? I mean, I could just put this guy at number 1 and then we can just like end the video, right? I don't need to really spend time talking here. Not much has changed in the landscape of the game since this guy's released and until now. I mean, we've gotten Omega Shenron, who again, I would actually say Omega releasing has helped this guy maintain his number 1 position. Again, works well with him and then works well against him. That's just the way it's going to be. In fact, I'm going to do my God rank grind this season, I think, with the GT setup, with this guy, Omega, and Baby on it. So, just a really good character. I think a lot of people have started to sort of reach the point where they're like, okay, like we get it, you know, with the gauge activating constantly. There's a lot of instances that I've had fighting this guy as last man standing where it's like, okay, I got to go through gauge number 1, I got to go through gauge number 2, and I got to go through gauge number 3. And at that point, I can finally play the game. Like, it just feels like you got to go through the motions with this character a lot of times, which I can definitely get the frustration with, and I've experienced that as well. But that's what makes him so crazy. This is the pinnacle of the game as it stands right now. It'll be interesting to see, because I think we'll probably end up getting an Ultra character in between the Anniversary and Legends Fest. Remember, Legends Fest typically begins sort of like Thanksgiving time, like second half of November is typically when Legends Fest starts. But we usually end up getting one Ultra character in between Anniversary and Legends Fest. So that, to me, I think is going to be the target to where I'm going to look for a character that actually ends up surpassing this guy, which is tough to even think about, but I think it is very possible. So Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is going to be number 1. Again, not really any in-depth detailed explanation needed here. Just to quickly recap the list, number 10, I had a shared spot between Golden Frieza and UI Goku, both the Ultra characters. Number 9, we had 1% Sparking Green Evil Boo. Number 7 and 8 was a shared spot between LF Zenkai Kid Buu and LF Zenkai Fusion Zamasu. Number 6 was LF Super Baby 2. Number 5, Fusing Gogeta Blue. Number 4, LF Omega Shenron. Number 3, LF Fusing Super Vegito. Number 2, LF Purple Ultimate Gohan. And number 1, Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Let me know down below if you guys agree or disagree with any placements on this list. And if you disagree, please let me know down below in the comments why you disagree. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next one.